What's the pod about today?
Hey, what's the deal with the mission to the moon?
Oh, the moon mission.
Yeah.
The mission to the moon.
Mission to the moon.
This has been your thing this past
Neil,
week in the family message, the family group chat.
It has. Listen, we were gonna touch on 9/11, and no disrespect to 9/11. We're burnt out.
Getting pretty tired of it.
Are you all burnt out too?
Yeah.
You can be honest. We're gonna finish that. We're gonna have I think 2 episodes that come out to kind of end it. And then we're gonna redirect our lives into something, I don't know. I think we'll do a few episodes that are a little less heavy, and then maybe do another deep dive.
Yeah.
But this is one of our less heavy episodes that I thought would be a nice little break for me, personally. Gets a little depressing looking at 9/11.
And not only that, I mean, the final 2 episodes, one of them will be a Conspiracy Corner special. So you just get ready for that, because I've got stuff locked, cocked, and loaded. New set.
We're in Marcus's study.
All of my things and my stuff back here behind us.
Don't pay attention to the smut.
That's someone else's. He screwed Dragon, Gary Cooper. My wife hates it when I make that joke. She hates it so much.
I've been thinking too, we need to go on a field trip to NASA, because NASA's literally right up the road from us. But the last time,
my wife didn't make it to NASA. Also with NASA, and this can be something a little bit conspiracy corner. Everybody put your tinfoil hats on. There is a cryptid that lives at NASA. I have seen it.
Of course you have.
So, hear me out, guys. All right. There's this thing called the Houston or the NASA gargoyle. This was, I'm not even joking. You can look this up, people at home.
We are way too early in this episode for a Marcus conspiracy corner.
I know, but just follow me here, camera guy. So there was this guy back in I believe it was the 80s. He was not a custodian, but he worked at Johnson Space Center, which is the one just down the road from us. And while he was heading out to his car, he saw something perched on one of the light poles. And he looked up, and it was like a man that had a leathery, what he thought was like a cape around him at first. And he's like, what on earth is that? And it started to unfold, and it crackled and kinked and all these other things. And it turned out to be wings. And it was staring him down the entire time. So anyways, after that, he didn't tell anybody, because he was like, they're going to kick me out. I'm going to lose all my access and all the rest of it. I'm going crazy. Well, anyway, it took such a toll on him and his family that his family eventually was like, dude, you got to tell your superiors that you saw something. Turns out there was already a case file open for it, because it killed the 2 German Shepherds on the base. And several other people had seen it. I'm being so for real right now.
I'm being so for real right now.
Seriously.
And you saw the gargoyle?
Yeah, so no shit, there I was. I was driving back from the gym one morning, and I was on the phone with Mom. Mom can corroborate the story, because I called it the Mothman, because I had no other... I was like, that's the Mothman. You didn't
know about the gargoyle.
Yeah, I had no other clue what it was. And so I was driving home. It was about 5:30 in the morning. Right over, just down by my house, there's a whole series of car dealerships. And as I was driving down, of course, the car dealerships, whether they're open or closed, they've got those big bright lights. And I saw something fly from the side of the road over, and I said, Mom, that's a really big bird. And then it kept flying, and it caught a sheen on it. And I was like, that's not a bird. And I went totally silent. I said, I think I just saw the Mothman. And she was like, no. And I was like, I'm being so serious. I don't know what that thing was. Now I know. Houston gargoyle. It's still out there. NASA didn't kill it. Yeah, they brought in people. I'm not even Men in Black came to their home to inquire about the Houston gargoyle. The guy that reported on it. All right, moon landing. Buzz Lightyear went up there with his buddy.
If it was Aldrin or whatever the other guy's name is.
Yeah, that sucks about the other guy, eh? Neil Armstrong.
Yeah,
what there we go.
To him?
I don't know.
He's gay, Gary Cooper? I'm pretty sure that Neil Armstrong is still alive.
Yeah, but Buzz Aldrin met Optimus Prime. You can fact check that. That's entirely true. And
Another crossover
Dark
over
Side of
Mark
the Moon.
Wahlberg.
Yeah, Dark Side of the Moon, Transformers, Michael Bay. Buzz Aldrin met Optimus
Was that the
Prime.
one with Mark Wahlberg?
No, that was just before.
That would have been so funny.
Because it turned into last night was when Mark Wahlberg took over the reins from Sam Witwicky, also known as Shia LaBeouf.
Actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf.
He died off screen. Gary Cooper.
Dude, we gotta.
And I love it.
We gotta eat an edible and go. No, seriously. Instead of last time where Sarah and I got so trashed on mimosas we were throwing up, which is a true story. And what's so fun, 2 days or a day after they got married, Sarah and Marcus, and we went out with his best man, and it was Sarah and I and you, and we got mimosas, and Sarah and I couldn't be stopped.
Yeah.
We were a nightmare. And we went to the bartender, I think, and got shots too before we left.
And I had 2 or 3, and I was like, all right, it's time to go to NASA. And I went out to the car, and 30 minutes later, nobody's at the car still. And so I had to go back in and literally drag them out. Not a great memory for me. And then by the time we get to whatever it's called, NASA, Sarah cannot leave the car. So I dropped those 2 off. And
Josh and I were wrecked.
Yeah, we were supposed to meet the parents. I was so pissed. And also, that was back when I used to smoke, and I knew Sarah hated smoke, so I never smoked in the car or anything like that, especially when she was there. No, on that way back home, that was a self-care day for me. I was pounding Marlboro Smooths, man, I tell you.
We had been joking the whole way that we were going to bomb at NASA.
Yeah.
And then we all did bomb at NASA. And then when I got back to, my brother was living with the grandparents at the time.
Which was just another fun thing to go home to.
We can we'll one day deep dive in on that hell. But he had snuck his wife into the house, and then Mom wasn't even going to let me in the house. But
I carried her up the stairs in my arms. They had an elevator that was like kind of a secret passage. So that's how I got her up. And then I ran into them downstairs and like, oh, you're home already? And I was like, yeah, some things happened, whatever. Who cares? And I had to go outside and scrub my car. And on really hot days, if you open up my glove box, you can still smell puke. Just by the way, which fun fact, now that Sarah has her car totaled, she's going to smell the puke because that's going to be her car. And I'm going to get a new car.
Up. I'm laughing.
Yeah. So, and funnily enough, that's actually not what got me out of drinking.
I want to tell my side of that story.
The moon.
I ran up the stairs and covered in vomit. I got in bed with Sarah because I wanted to watch Twilight. And then Mom followed me upstairs and was like, Danielle, we got to get you home, to your home. And she had to drive me, and then all I wanted was a Big Mac. And Mom was laughing herself sick all the way back to my place.
But speaking of the whole housing arrangement and everything, this is, like I said, this is what we're calling foreshadowing in the industry. There will be a pretty big deep dive. That's going to be like a 10-hour long episode on family history.
Family history's been bad, guys. So the space race. Let's talk about it.
Space race, I'm going to be totally honest. Like I said, some of the best propaganda I have ever seen in my entire life. The Soviets and the United States, all the stops brought out. I don't know if I'll send you actually some of my favorite bits of propaganda. I mean, you can put it up on the screen here if you guys are watching. Dude, the future was bright and it was going to be on the moon. And it was awesome. And that's another reason why I like NASA so much, is because they have that propaganda all throughout the whole thing. But was everything propaganda, or was there some things that were actually real?
I'm going to be honest with you. The fact that they took something into outer space and landed on the moon that has less technology than our cell phones do right now that we are holding in our hands, and we have not yet been back to the moon. Although, may I say, we're about to go back to the moon. What started this little jaunt in my brain is we're about to go back to the moon, although we've talked about the moon landing on here before.
Yeah, kind of in passing.
I don't believe we actually were on the moon. What do you think?
Okay.
And I think when I was drunk in NASA, I kept announcing to everyone.
None of this happened. I know we've been to the moon. I know we have, because we have observable evidence such as flags that we can, with a powerful telescope, zoom in on and see. The only problem is it does not look like the United States has been there. It looks like France has been there because they're white flags. A little bit of a anti-France joke for you guys out there. But it's an old joke too. But we have observable evidence. Do I think that the footage we got is from the moon? More than likely not. Like, more than likely not. And on top of that, how many astronauts have we left for dead on the moon?
None?
I don't know. Because the actual protocol, like let's say it was Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin that went up to the moon. The actual protocol, which has been released, I think it got released with the JFK files, which wonderful JFK files.
We got to get into that.
Yeah, and you can just scroll
Maybe
through.
that's our next deep dive. That's a lighthearted.
Yeah. But you can just go through and see all of the lines that are completely blacked out, entire pages, and it's like, wow, you guys really are transparent. That's cool. The actual standard operating procedure for what was going to happen is they were going to tell the people that while they were boarding the space shuttle to leave, or the pod to leave, while they were leaving, the pod crashed. But if you remember at the beginning, I said, what if the pod didn't get off the ground?
It's interesting that you say that because there was a failed space mission that I was going to talk about in here.
Armageddon.
Did you know this? No, that's a movie with Bruce Willis, right? Speaking of which, R.I.P. Bruce Willis soon.
Yeah.
That's fucking rough. Bless up. God bless him and his family.
That's a really crappy thing.
Oh my God.
Really crappy thing.
Also, no offense to his family, but stop sharing shit about your dad.
Yeah.
Like that's
I don't need to know anymore. You guys can just take your own private time. That's fine.
Literally why he retired was so he didn't have to like face the world the way that they're kind of making him face it right now. I don't like it. But anyways, you know what would be so awkward is if he dies before this is released.
That'd be pretty...
Because it's been bad, apparently.
Yeah.
Like, I saw reports that he doesn't remember even being a Hollywood actor. That he...
That's probably for the best, honestly.
I've heard he's in a home, too. What a shame. No, there was supposedly a failed moon mission. It was too hot. The spaceship burned up, killed 3 astronauts. And so that's why when we get into the conspiracy theories, there's going to be one main guy that's part of the conspiracy theories. This is one of the reasons why he's like, there's no way they got it together in this short amount of time to send people to the moon.
Yeah.
After this failed mission. So the failed moon missions include Apollo 1, a tragic fire that killed the crew during a test. And then there's Apollo 13, which aborted its landing after an oxygen tank exploded, but returned the crew safely.
Yeah.
And that was in 1967, which is interesting because we're going to talk about Russia, obviously.
Yeah.
But keep that date in your mind. So they tried to go to the moon first in 1967, which is also interesting because that is before JFK is like, we're going.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to do it within the decade.
With the standard operating procedure being that they were going to tell the general public that either the landing screwed up, or while they were entering orbit, it burned up, or while they were trying to leave the moon's orbit, they didn't have enough power, and they crash landed. What were they going to do to Buzz and the other guy? Do you know?
No. Leave
them.
I did know that. Leave
Yeah.
them. Well, isn't that...
That was going to be it for those two. What a crappy way to go. Which, like I said...
Did they know about that procedure?
I believe so, yes. So...
I tell you, it wouldn't be what I'd want.
Not my cup of tea to watch the planet that I lived on just in front of me.
Would you ever go to space?
No.
Me either.
No.
I do not want to. No.
Until we have genetic, like, we can transform our own bodies, and I can turn into, a 9-foot tall space dude that goes out there and kills aliens, I'm not getting on a ship, like, whatsoever.
I don't trust our government enough to get on a ship. But anyways.
That's true as well. Yeah.
Which brings us back to this. Okay, so July 20th, 1969, right? Over 600 million people around the world stopped what they were doing and watched as Neil Armstrong stepped off the lunar module and into history.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
They play that like 50,000 times at NASA. I have weird looped memories about that from my drunk escapade.
It always makes me feel very patriotic.
But ever since that day, there's been a shadow hanging over Apollo 11. Some people, including myself, believe that it never happened, that it was staged, a Cold War trick filmed in a Hollywood studio on Area 51. Did you know that?
Yes.
That's where people believe that they filmed it. Area 51, they think Stanley Kubrick was the director that filmed it.
Well, with Stanley Kubrick being so tied to realism and all of his things, Unfortunately, they did end up having to go to the moon so that he could produce it. That's a little film joke for you guys out there. It's also a very old film joke.
Did we in fact land on the moon is the question we're going to be asking today. Why did these conspiracy theories begin, and why do they still thrive to this day? And what's with that recent NASA comment about the Artemis? This is what started my little brainwave on wanting to talk about the moon landing, because an astronaut proudly announced, I'll put the clip in,
Yeah.
that this is the first time humans are going to be on the moon.
This is the first time we're going to send humans to the moon, and we're going to have humans in low Earth orbit. That is awesome. Like, we should, as humanity, we should take a brief moment to go, that's awesome.
That's so sus.
Yeah, it's really weird. If it was me and the boys, and we were about to go to the moon, and we had to give a press conference or anything like that, I would try to drop something like that. Like, for
He's
sure.
NASA trained.
Yeah, but I would still try to drop something like that where it's like, yeah, this will be the first time that people have ever been to the moon. It's really exciting. Anybody ask me to expand on that, I'll be like, I never said that. What are you talking about? Just to like feed into it just a little bit more, because I think that's funny. I think spreading misinformation is funny. That's why I like Facebook so much.
To understand why the moon landing mattered so much, we got to go back to the Cold War. Marcus, would you like to expand on the Cold War?
The Cold War. Does anybody know what a Cold War is? You in the back there. Yes, that's correct. It's a war that never goes hot. What does hot mean? It means that they're shooting at each other. That's a hot war. Cold War is basically just misinformation, espionage, spying, all that cool stuff. And it was between the two final superpowers on the planet, the United States and Russia. Place your bets now, kids, because we won. But we won the Cold War. Essentially what ended up happening was a lot of tiny proxy wars started, and you can believe whether we won them or not. That's fine. But we still won the culture war. That's why West Germany is no longer... No, it is East Germany. Is no longer behind a wall. Mr. Gorbachev, he tore down that wall, in the words of Ronald Reagan. Great guy, Ronald Reagan. There's another one we could go into. Essentially, all it was a big beating of the chest between the United States and Russia. And at the end of the day, Russia cowered because it kept making paper tigers, things that never really... They would make these super weapons. We would actually make something to combat the super weapon. And then it turns out the super weapon never even existed to begin with. So that's why the United States has such an OP military, is because every time China or Russia or any other country is like, oh, we've made this brand new thing, we make something to counter that within a year. And then it turns out they never even had that thing. So now we just have a bunch of specialty weapons that were designed to take out one or two things that can level a continent if it needs to, that just sit in hangars.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Number one, a hot war isn't just the Soviets serving in their looks.
I will say, speaking of which, one of my favorite military get-ups is called, I believe, the Telaclava, I think is what it's called. You're talking about clothing. Let's do it. They had these...
This is why I brought this up, because remember your rant you went on when they were in Afghanistan?
Yeah. They had these like wife beaters underneath the blouses that they had, and they were blue and white striped, and it was like one of the coolest things ever. It's like the best piece of military... In my opinion, the best looking piece of military attire of the modern age, and I will stand on that fact.
Number two question. Russia, do you think they teach their children that they actually won the Cold War?
No.
Okay.
And the reason behind that is because I know people from Russia that are like, yeah, no, you guys spanked us. Like, we totally... And we took that on the chin. It's not often that they really teach about that part of their history, though. It's just, hey, we tried to make it to space first. We made it to space. We had the first people in space. Then we had the first satellite, this, that, and the other thing, but the United States beat us to the moon.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, it's chill. All's fair, you know? It's good to shake hands at the end of the day and be like, hey, we all came close, as long as we all had fun.
And honestly, like the Cold War, it wasn't just like fighting with the idea of bombs, because as we know, our mother used to, when she was in elementary school, because she lived through the Cold War,
yeah,
they used to have to put gas masks on, hide under their chairs and tables at
just
school.
in case a nuke dropped.
Yeah, it was really traumatizing for her. This was a propaganda war that we were fighting, and it was ideas as well. Mm-hmm. So capitalism versus communism. And back then, too, they were really worried about communist spies. Like, really worried about it.
Yeah.
And, like, people were reporting their neighbors. So this idea of reporting your neighbors... Not new.
No.
Didn't just happen with 9/11.
Well, I mean, shoot, we've been doing it since, before Salem. You had the witch scare, you got the Red scare, you got the COVID scare, you got the Patriot Act scare. I'm scared.
October 4th, 1957, the Soviets launched Sputnik 1.
Let's go. Made a real fun noise, too. Put an audio clip in of that noise. I'll send you a clip. Pretty fun noise. Like that noise.
A tiny beeping satellite, but it shocked America. If they could put something like this into orbit, they could send nuclear weapons to other continents. That was the worry. This kicked off the so-called Sputnik crisis. We were really concerned too. There was like a huge gap between our technologies and Russia's technologies. So we were like, okay, we got to go so that we can nuke them before they nuke us.
It's a good thing we just got all those scientists too.
I don't understand.
History fun fact with Marcus. So a little while ago, our VP said something about
JD Vance.
Yeah, said something about put a picture of him up. I'll send you one. All right. Stated that he didn't want what could potentially be foreign powers or foreign government leading in STEM, science, technology, mathematics, and stuff like that inside of our country. Fantastic, because according to him, it was real Americans that got us to the moon. History fun fact: who were the starters of NASA?
I don't know.
Nazi scientists that we took from Germany.
Hilarious.
Yeah,
but
Operation
not funny.
Paperclip. Look it up. It was real Americans that got us to the moon. Definitely not Germans.
Speaking of which, we founded NASA in 1958, which ramped up science education, and things got serious because Russia was just dunking on us.
Yeah.
First animal in space. This is going to be a very horrific story. It went viral on TikTok a while ago. I've talked about it on TikTok. Very upsetting. If you want to skip ahead, here is the skip ahead point. I cannot pronounce this fucking dog's name. Hold on, let me look it up.
I
It's
believe.
Leica.
Yeah.
Marcus says the dog's name is pronounced Leica, so that is how we are going to be pronouncing the name. And
Just directing all the hate onto me if we got it wrong.
I can't pronounce shit anyways. Speaking of which, I have my dog on my lap right now, so cover your ears. So this poor dog, she was a stray. She was a husky Spitz mix. They went on a mission to find this dog.
Mm-hmm.
It's horrible. They wanted to make a point, though. They wanted to prove that they could send a living organism into space. Her mission was a key event in this Cold War space race, a demonstration that she could survive by going into orbit. They had no plans to bring her back down, though.
Yeah.
There were no plans to save the life of this dog. But this was in hopes of scientific advancement so that one day we could send a person out and then hopefully bring them back in one piece.
Hopefully.
So instead we just took an innocent dog and, well, we didn't. Russia did. But
Humanity did.
I'm sure we,
Oh, dude, we've sent so many things to space that we don't know about. And also, I mean, that's the testing on animals and all the rest of it that United States we're pretty famous for doing that sort of thing.
So what they expected to happen to this dog, though, was that she was going to die from oxygen deprivation. A painless death, they said, quote unquote.
It's not terrible. There's a few pains to begin with, like when you're trying to take air in and you're not getting air, you're getting carbon dioxide or just nothing. You get some sharp pains. This is from people that I know who have drowned and who have been brought back. But apparently,
How do you know so many people?
I just know. But apparently, the world gets really pretty for about 20 seconds before everything blacks out. So it's after the initial pain, everything gets really pretty. You black out, then you're shaking hands with Jesus.
Well, they said
it.
it's within 15 seconds she was supposed to die.
Yeah.
After those 7 days in space. So we already starving.
Yeah.
And it's already terrifying.
Thirsty.
Can you imagine?
Smelly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they also had hooked her up, not just in a spacesuit, but they had with the dogs that they caught, because they actually went out and they looked for female dogs because they were believed to be smaller and more docile. And they were all stray dogs that they went through. And then they went through and handpicked the ones that were most obedient. Out of those, they started to train the ones that they could put into the capsules for periods of time and everything. And they kept putting these sanitary devices on their bottoms so that, I guess, so they can shit and piss in it.
I guess, yeah.
I guess, but the dogs really didn't like those. And a lot of them during the testing time would just, like, even if they were given laxatives, would hold their stuff until the things were taken off.
And also, I mean, it does make sense from that perspective, from the sanitary thing, to use female dogs as well, because everything is in a row back there to use the bathroom.
Oh, yeah, it's right all there instead of, like, in the front.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that kind of makes sense.
Okay.
But it also makes sense because female dogs are honestly just better dogs than male dogs. Sorry, guys. But statistically speaking, actually, there's a book about it up here. Female dogs make better hunting dogs. They usually make better companion dogs. They're better dogs.
Although in my house, it would be argued that the male dog is a better dog.
That is a ridiculously good dog, that dog.
He's pretty great. They also the scientists check that their disposition to loud noises, to changes in compression and air, things like that, because they're going to be heading into space and they're going to want to test how their body reacts to that. Eventually, a team chose a placid dog, and I cannot pronounce this dog's name, but apparently in English it's called Little Curly. She was supposed to be Sputnik 2 dog. So eventually they chose Laika as the dog that they were going to have, but originally they were going to have this other dog. But reportedly, this is rumor that, and she had outperformed Laika in like everything, but she had recently given birth to puppies, and one of the affections of her keepers was won by her. So supposedly that keeper took her, and Laika was up for the bid.
Dang.
And when they were introducing this idea to the people, apparently Laika barked in the background, and so she became known as the Barker. And this was like a really propaganda thing that she was going to space. But even at the time, apparently there were protesters, although back then animal rights weren't really a thing. It wasn't something that was like really worried about with people. But apparently there were protesters at the time. They were wondering what was going to happen to the dog, what the whole plan was, and I don't think the government was forthcoming with what the eventual plan was.
A government not being forthcoming with health and welfare of animals and people?
The doctors actually performed surgery on both the dogs because that dog was still the runner-up if Laika could not go. And they put an implant inside them that was supposed to test their heart rates, their breathing, all of that, so that they knew what the changes would do to the dog when they sent them up into orbit. So one of her keepers, before she left this planet, actually took the 3-year-old dog and hid her away for a minute so that she could have food. That was against protocol. She was not supposed to have any food before she went to space. So she gave her food and water, and apparently someone also took her home the night before.
I have heard that, yeah.
Yeah, because they wanted to give her something nice to remember before she went to space. Could never. I
wouldn't be able to bring the dog back. I'd bring it home.
My
and be
dog.
Like, dang, that really sucks about Mother Russia and all. Anyways, do we got like a frog or something we can send them?
She's sent to space, right? She dies within minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. She hits orbit. She orbits the Earth. I believe they think like 2, maybe 4 times she orbited the Earth, which she was terrified the whole time she was up there. I mean, could you fucking imagine? But instead of them having a heat protectant around her, that gave away almost immediately. She died of being overheated. It was way over 90 degrees in that pod. Immediate death. Now the government lied about this.
Yes.
The Russian government put out that she was still alive up in space because this was all a propaganda mission, which is why I wonder what our government lied about concerning our moon mission. They said that she was still alive and she survived for several days, and they went on this for like years. Official documents were even falsified, and they said she was alive until November 12th. The New York Times at the time even reported that she might be saved.
Us Americans and our dogs, man.
Yeah, right. Soviet communique made it clear after 9 days that she had died. She re-entered Earth's orbit in April of 1958 after orbiting the Earth 2,570 orbits. She and the Sputnik 2 disintegrated upon entering back into our atmosphere. They have a statue for her. One of the people that worked with her says that they now regret doing any of that.
Understandable.
Now the first human in orbit. Again, another Russian.
Yep.
This was Yuri
Cosmonaut.
We'll put his name up on the screen. In 1961, he was a hunk.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you a footage of him. Have you seen him?
Most astronauts are hot.
Well, he's okay, so there's a difference between a cosmonaut and an astronaut, which I learned about this today, actually. Cosmonaut is someone from Russia. Astronaut is someone from the U.S. So we even had our own little names for them. He became an icon. Like an icon.
The space pilot, whom the Russians have deified as the man of the century, arrives at the airport outside of Moscow for his first public appearance. Questions that have arisen in the West about the validity of his flight have no place here today, as the crowds go wild over the first man to conquer space. Major Gagarin's initial function is a long red-carpeted walk to the platform, where Khrushchev greets him. Gagarin puts party first by thanking the communists for the opportunity. Khrushchev Russian bear hug and kiss as Yuri's pictures are waved. There have been grumblings in Russia about the cost of the space program, but that is forgotten today as tens of thousands pour into Red Square to get a glimpse of their hero. He stands atop Lenin's tomb and receives their accolades. There have been many unanswered questions about the flight, but there's no question of who is number one man in Russia today.
Dude, the ladies wanted him, let me tell you. It's like, yeah, bring down the fat American pigs and come home to me. Yeah, he's probably giving them little smoochies on the cheek. For sure. Because, I mean, like, also, let's be totally honest. I mean, like, we complain enough about our boomers over here kind of glorifying our, you know, presidents or our politicians or whatever. Or
Why
hear
do they
like,
do that when they grew up in the time frame of, like, Big Brother's watching you?
yeah, I don't know. But you'll also see, I mean, like, even younger people, like, every once in a while being like, oh, well, this person's definitely going to make a change. It's like believing that the stripper likes you, right? But, I mean, we know that for a fact, and yet people still do it. These people were a totally different breed, though, because, I mean, they're just coming away from Stalin, where Stalin at a, whatever it's called, musical production, he got up on stage after the musical production was done, and the people clapped for him, of course, and then they kept clapping, and the clapping lasted for over 2.5 hours, and the first two people to quit disappeared. Yeah, it kind of makes sense why they're a little bit more passionate about their leaders. And honestly, look, if I was going to get sent on like this top secret mission where I was going to have to orbit the moon for the first time or the Earth for the first time, and Donald Trump was there, I mean, yeah, I'd probably give him a pretty tight hug if he was going to give me the opportunity to do that. You know, especially in such a big fight against the only other superpower on the planet.
Did you give him a big hug like Erica Kirk gave him a big hug?
Oh, maybe another rabbit hole to dive. Yeah, I'd probably give him a little kiss on the cheek too. Anyways, I'm not above that.
Yuri was born in a small Russian village, the son of a carpenter and a dairy farmer. So he came from nothing, kind of chill. He grew up during World War II. His family's home was occupied by Nazis.
Dang.
I know. He saw suffering early, but he also saw the power of technology, airplanes, rockets, and dreamed of flying. He trained as a pilot and joined the Soviet Air Force. When the USSR began selecting candidates for a super secret space program, he stood out. He was smart, calm under pressure, and at just over 5'2", the perfect size to fit into the crammed capsule.
No wonder he was a pilot. Good grief. 5'2"?
Short King.
Short Kings, rise up out there. If we got any Short Kings watching that like cigarettes, what's your favorite brand of cigarettes?
Marcus is on a kick
A little bit of a throwback to the beginning of the episode.
On April 12, 1961, Yuri boarded the Vostok 1. It took about 108 minutes to orbit the Earth once.
That's faster than 60 days.
Like the dog?
No, it's around the Earth in 60 days.
He landed, and he didn't even come down in the capsule. He was ejected and then parachuted.
Oh my gosh, he was probably crapping his pants. He was like, dude, I gotta change my clothes. Like, they're like, let's get your picture and everything. I gotta change my clothes before I go anywhere, dude. I hope you brought an extra pair.
They probably didn't allow him to eat before the launch, just like they didn't allow Laika.
Oh gosh, yeah, you're probably right.
The keeper didn't take him to the side and give him last meal.
Brought him home for a night before. Got him to sleep on the end of their bed.
I bet you some girls brought him home for the night before.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, could you imagine?
And the night after, and after, and after.
Oh,
and
the rest
after.
of his life.
Yeah.
Which was a very short life. He died at 31.
Plane crash?
Plane crash. How'd you know?
It's Russian technology. That's how I knew.
I'm so impressed right now. I couldn't believe how full circle his life went.
Yeah. It was a plane crash. Like, I immediately knew the second you were like he was a pilot, I was going to ask if he died in a plane crash. Like, straight up. Because this is one thing that the Russians don't know how to do, for some reason, is make a good plane. And I don't know how. They make other stuff that's serviceable, at least, and then they make planes, and they're made out of paper mache and hopes and dreams. And that's it. And you pull like 3 Gs in it, and the wings fly off. And the ejector's like, oh, let's take this out. And somebody forgot to put the ejector seat in, and it's like, oh.
Well, apparently there were conspiracy theories about his death, too. Which is interesting.
Maybe he realized the Earth was flat when he was up there, and they had to put him down.
He landed in a field near Saratov. Sorry for any mispronunciation. Where a farmer and her daughter found him. He said, "Don't be afraid. I am a Soviet citizen. I have come back from space."
That definitely wouldn't set any alarm bells off. I'm surprised they didn't kill him in the middle of that field. Like if someone landed in my backyard and was like, "Don't be afraid, I'm an American citizen. I've just come back from space," I'd shoot them.
In a spacesuit.
I
He
would
probably
shoot
looked
them.
like a fucking alien.
Yeah, I'd be like, "You are not from this planet. You're dead now."
That's very American of you, though. So he became a global superstar. Posters of his smile were everywhere. The Soviets paraded him through the Red Square, calling him the Columbus of the Cosmos.
Badass name. That's a real badass name. That's
You
cool.
know he just got laid.
Oh, constantly.
Like,
yeah.
you know, anywhere he traveled to, like, what a life
He
this
probably
man
has so
led.
many heirs. There's probably so many kids.
If you're a child of Yuri, drop your comments.
And drop what your favorite cigarette is down in the comments. I've had a stressful couple of weeks. I've thought about taking up smoking hot turkey a couple of times. All right.
He toured dozens of countries, including the UK and Cuba. To the world, he represented the triumph of communism, science, and Soviet integrity. To Americans, we were terrified.
Yeah.
Yuri's flight proved that the Soviets had the technology, and more so, the rockets,
Yeah.
to reach space first. It was propaganda home run for the Soviets. And this was way before Kennedy even promised the moon. Valentina something. She's the first woman in space in 1963. Again, Soviet.
The Russians did it again.
They did it again. A huge milestone. First woman in space on June 16th, 1963 at just 26 years old. She launched aboard the Vostok 6. Her call sign was Chaka. It means seagull.
I don't know if I would like that. I'm going to be totally honest.
So she orbited Earth 48 times in over nearly 3 days. So way longer than Yuri. Longer than the U.S. astronauts combined at that point as well.
Ooh.
Big fuck you to us.
Stunting on them.
Yeah. When she landed, she too parachuted down and was greeted by villagers who helped her out of her suit and offered her food.
Once again, way nicer than I would have been.
She's a huge star in the Soviet nation. She later becomes a politician and a symbol of Soviet gender equality as well.
Incredible.
Flight wasn't just about inclusion, obviously. It wasn't 2025. It was propaganda gold.
Yes.
The Soviets were like, hey, even our women go to space before America's. They had sent a dog. They had sent a man. And now they've sent a woman into space before we have even decided on anything.
If we're going, where we're going,
Well,
what
did.
we're doing.
So right after Yuri had gone up, that was when JFK was like, whoa now, buddy.
I wish to say, my fellow citizens, that we shall send to the moon 240,000 miles away from the control station in Houston, a giant rocket more than 300 feet tall, the length of this football field, made of new metal alloys, some of which have not yet been invented, capable of standing heat and stresses several times more than have ever been experienced, fitted together with a precision better than the finest watch, carrying all the equipment needed for propulsion, guidance, control, communications, food, and survival, on an untried mission to an unknown celestial body, and then return it safely to Earth, re-entering the atmosphere at speeds of over 25,000 miles per hour, causing heat about half that on the temperature of the sun, almost as hot as it is here today, and do all this, and do it right, and do it first before this decade is out, then we must be bold. However, I think we're going to do it. And I think that we must pay what needs to be paid. I don't think we ought to waste any money, but I think we ought to do the job. And this will be done in the decade of the 60s. It may be done while some of you are still here at school at this college and university. It will be done during the terms of office of some of the people who sit here on this platform. But it will be done, and it will be done before the end of this decade. And I am delighted that this university is playing a part in putting a man on the moon as part of a great national effort of the United States of America. Many years ago, the great British explorer George Mallory, who was to die on Mount Everest, was asked why did he want to climb it. He said, because it is there. Well, space is there, and we're going to climb it. And the moon and the planets are there. And new hopes for knowledge and peace are there. And therefore, as we set sail, we ask God's blessing on the most hazardous and dangerous and greatest adventure on which man has ever embarked. Thank you.
We're going to the moon.
Mm-hmm. So he said in May of 1961, he told Congress, I believe that the nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before the decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth.
Let's go, JFK.
So JFK, he's like, we're doing it. Okay, huge gamble, lots of money. We're going risky for humans. But if we pulled it off first, it would prove that we are now first at everything. Like, this is huge. Huge, as some presidents would say today. This was a $25 billion Cold War operation.
In today's money, that's like 15 septillion inflation. 25 billion.
This is why we're in debt today.
USD.
I'm sure. Because we were trying to dunk on Russia.
Holy cow. Is the purchasing power today of 257 billion, 123 million, 809,520 dollars. Holy cow. I mean, you know, that's probably a portion as to why we're in debt, but we're like, what, $25 trillion in debt? The world is in debt to everyone.
I feel like money's not real, though. So, like, how can you say we're in debt?
So the
Do you know
money's
what I
not
mean?
real, and that's because the Federal Reserve is neither federal nor is it a reserve. And on top of that, we don't have a standard for what the USD is actually worth. Like, back then, everything was based off of gold. We don't have anything to stand. This is another deep dive we can go into, and how all the people that were against the Federal Reserve died on the Titanic.
Anyway, Apollo 11 launched July 16th, 1969.
That's my birthday.
It's not. 4 days later, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin touched down on the Sea of Tranquility.
Would they get high? They were finally able to profess their love for each other and ate a bunch of edibles.
It's the part of the moon.
Oh, it's part of the moon
It's
they
a
landed on.
Tranquility base. So Armstrong steps out, delivers his famous line, plants the U.S. flag. For the first time in history, humans walked on a different planet.
That's crazy. I mean, I know you don't believe it, but let's.
Do you really think you think we did it?
I think we've been to the moon. Yeah, like I said, I don't think that footage is.
So you don't think Buzz Aldrin?
Might have been him, might have been somebody else, but I think just humanity as a species, the stars belong to us, and it is our divine right to take over the entire solar system, if not the entire galaxy. It's
I hate
crazy.
people like you so much.
It's crazy that we did that.
I think we're a parasite.
Oh no, dude. It's our job to remind AI and robots and aliens
Be nice to the AI.
who are made in God's image and who isn't. It's our job to remind them of that.
But we made them in God's image.
Physically.
We played God and made them.
Exactly. Which is why all the circuit boards and everything have the king's seals on them, which are ways to summon and bind demons.
Dinosaurs eat man.
Woman
inherits the earth. Estimated over 600 million people, as I said earlier, they watched this broadcast live. Largest audience in history at the time.
Yeah.
The Soviets, who had been winning in the space race for a decade now, had no answer. America had claimed the ultimate high ground.
We bent them over on our knee and spanked them. And now there's a McDonald's in Moscow. Coincidence? I think not.
So even at the time, people started whispering that the footage was a little too grainy. The flag was waving in the wind, but how was there wind on the moon? Seemed a little too flat. Seemed a little too planned. Seemed a little too perfect. Some might say maybe Stanley Kubrick may have designed it.
Maybe.
At Area 51. In 1974, those whispers became a movement that we have today. A man named Bill Kaysing published a book called We Never Went to the Moon. Straight to the point.
Real subtle with that title. Don't judge a book by its cover, guys.
Not a rocket scientist at all. He worked as a technical writer. But he laid out a set of claims that NASA had faked the landings on a soundstage. Again, Area 51. He's the one that came up with all of this. Basically was the grandfather of all moon hoax theories. And of course, with the backdrop of Vietnam we already had, Watergate, the government had already lied to the American people multiple times and had publicly made asses of themselves a few times. So we already had that distrust of them. So that didn't help at all. As I said at the beginning, how on earth do we have the technology for these iPhones that we have now, but yet we have not been back to space? It doesn't make much sense to me.
Back to the moon.
But yeah, sorry, we went back to space.
Yeah.
So I looked this up, especially since this wonderful NASA agent astronaut has said that this is going to be the first time that people have gone to the moon. I found it very interesting, especially if I can find those clips of like Neil Armstrong being an old man and being like, we never went to the moon with the kids.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. Because we didn't.
That's a little bit funky.
It is a little bit funky. The computer that guided Apollo 11 was called Apollo Guidance Computer, the AGC. It had 64 kilobytes of memory and ran about 0.043 megahertz. Compare that to a modern smartphone running at least 3,000 megahertz and millions of times more memory. So yes, raw computing power, our iPhones win. But the brilliance of Apollo, it was not about power. It was about simplicity and reliability. The tiny computer didn't have Candy Crush or Instagram on it to crash it. It just had one sole mission and focus, getting those fuckers onto the moon. So it was meticulously built, tested, and programmed line by line to handle just the one task: get to the moon and get them back. Every line of Apollo's code was written by hand, mostly by women programmers.
Yeah, Hidden Figures. There's that movie.
Wait, what?
Hidden Figures, and one of the bad guys is Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory.
I don't like that actor.
No,
He
there
bothers
will
me.
be news that comes out about him. Mark my words, within the decade.
Marcus gets feelings about actors, and usually they're right. Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah, Ellen DeGeneres was the first one. I have 3 ones right now. Of course, not Stanley Kubrick, Sheldon Cooper. I don't know his actual name.
Jim Parsons.
And then Taylor Swift and Dolly Parton.
There's not going to be anything that comes about Miss Parton.
Kurt Basement, there are kids.
The program, okay. Women programmers led by Margaret Hamilton at MIT. She literally coined the term software engineering. When alarms started blaring during Apollo 11's landing, error codes 1201 and 1202, that was the computer telling them that it was overloaded, but it still prioritized the landing sequence. That smart design saved the mission. But why haven't we been back? Well, this mission was not sustainable. This was built to just do like a one and done, and it was a $25 billion exploit on a one and done. So our government was like, okay, we're moving on from this. We've got NASA now. We're looking at sending people to space. We've got the Mars mission. We've got to blow up a few more astronauts, before we head our way back there. It's so fucking true, though.
Yeah.
Like, the Challenger, totally NASA's fault. If
Yes.
you ever look, and that could be a fun episode.
That could be another one, yeah.
Not fun. Oh, so did you know Big Bird was supposed to be on the Challenger?
Yes, I did. Yeah. And we almost watched Big Bird die live on TV.
On TV. Instead, we watched a teacher. So,
Yeah.
Mom still talked about how traumatizing that is.
Yeah, that is like, it's one thing because Mom also talks about the Congo War, and that's what like traumatized her when she was a kid, because that was one of the first wars that was broadly televised, and you see a lot from the televised news. I don't know how they were able to televise that much, because there's one clip in particular, and it's a clip that stuck with me, of a mercenary. You don't know about the Congo War. This was also Cold War.
I don't know anything about the Congo War.
Where this guy was a French mercenary walking down the street in a residential area where all the homes were right next to the road. And as he was walking through, he was cooking a grenade, throwing it into a house, cooking a grenade, throwing it into a house, cooking a grenade, throwing it into a house. Yeah. And that was televised. That's what Mom grew up on. But watching that, like, it's warfare. War sucks. Everybody knows war sucks. But watching what you think is going to be a marvel of technology, and it's so wonderful that this teacher is going up and all the rest of it, and it just disintegrates. Like,
and then finding out the horrors after. Like, they didn't die until they hit the fucking ocean.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the terror?
Yeah.
In the 70s, NASA's budget was also slashed, okay?
Yes.
Yes. So, Apollo 18, 19, and 20 were canceled. Public interest dropped. People were like, we've been there.
We
done
did that.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good on it. So, we've got new priorities. We got the Space Shuttle, International Space Station, Mars probes, Hubble. NASA has become divided in its resources. So the moon was never supposed to be a tourism site in the first place. Also, they're expecting a huge asteroid to hit it in like 2035.
Dude, look, okay.
I don't believe it.
NASA scientists be like, Earth just had a near miss of 25 billion light years. I can't believe we almost died, guys. It's like, all right, cool. It's like that one that was supposed to hit, I think, this year. that asteroid was supposed to hit, and they were like, guys, it was a near miss of 27 billion miles. And it's like, that doesn't sound like a near miss to me. You know who helps us out a lot with those asteroids? Jupiter. I'm being so for real right now. I can cite you this.
Jupiter should still be a planet.
Jupiter is a planet.
Oh, it's Pluto.
It's Pluto. Jupiter is so massive that when these asteroids come by,
Jesus.
it gets, literally, they get caught up in its gravitational field, and it pulls asteroids away from us.
Thanks, Jupiter.
Dude, Jupiter, you're the GOAT.
There's also this myth that they lost data. So what happened to the original telemetry tapes and documentation, they were stored on magnetic reels, and over time many were reused or degraded. NASA also moved facilities, retired engineers, and transitioned to digital archives that didn't preserve every detail. So a lot of the analog material is gone at this point, but that's where a lot of conspiracy theories come out about the whole thing, because it's like, you know,
it creeps in. It's like, oh, well, they destroyed it, or, you know, oh, they conveniently lost it. And it's like, no, this technology does not last for that long. It just, unfortunately, it doesn't. Like, even look at cars. Cars, they always talk about, oh, well, they made them better back then. And it's like, well, then why are none of them on the road except people who have put $75,000 into a Bel Air? Like, that's the only ones that are still on the road. So everything breaks down over time.
Also, if it was all such low tech, how did it like end up making it in the first place? So while the systems were simple, there was less to break on that. The astronauts could literally fix the problems themselves, even with duct tape, pencils, and procedure books. Modern spacecraft are so complex and software dependent that one bug can ground a mission for months, or keep a mission in space for way too long.
A year, yeah.
I wonder what happened to those astronauts.
Hey, they're all right, you know. They definitely. I wonder if they ever explored each other's bodies. Which, I mean, like, you know, what else are you gonna do for, you know, 1,000 days in space or whatever they did? Look, if I was the husband or the wife of either of those two that were up there, I'd be like, look, I'm fine with it. Just tell me that it happened so I can, like, have, you know, assurance in my brain. But, like, I get it, dude. You're totally fine. All is forgiven. If you want, we can go to marriage counseling just to put it, like, you know, a nice bookend on it. That's it.
The whole world is worried that they're not going to make it back down. And Elon Musk is even about to send people to space to get them. And you're over here like, you think they boned?
No, they definitely did. I mean, like, I'm not trying to be mean about it or anything, but we're humans, you know? Human beings have human things, so.
It's just like how I think Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk were boning.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure if I don't think after they were married. But I mean, who knows?
Anybody that deep into politics on either side of the aisle is more than likely has something going on behind the scenes.
And hey, the mistress is grieving more than a wife, it would seem.
Indeed.
So our phones are now stronger computers, but people of Apollo, they were the processors. Every calculation, every risk, it was done by hand, by humans who knew that there was no second chance. So we could have gone again if we could have afforded it, but it just wasn't a necessary evil at that point in time.
People are like, well, why haven't we gone back? Why haven't we gone back? And it's like, it's for the same reason. And I'm not saying that everybody who believes that all of this was not, you know, not real, believes that the pyramids were also built by aliens. But in my opinion, it kind of follows the same train of thought, to where you have this insane wonder that has been done. And it's like, well, we don't even have the technology to do it nowadays. No, we do. It's just, why would we?
Photos of the space launch, photos of them on the moon.
Yes.
They're like, hey, where the fuck are the stars? Have you heard this?
Yes, I have a rebuttal.
What is your rebuttal?
My rebuttal is that the moon is so bright, it kind of washes out the stars behind it. Which is true. If you know anything about photography, if you take a picture of a really bright thing, and there's an equally bright thing way off in the distance in the back, you're not going to see that bright thing in the back. You will only see the light that is taken in, because that's how cameras work. It's not how our eyes work. They probably saw the stars, but it's how cameras work, unfortunately.
So there's no air on the moon as well. Why was the flag waving?
Because they touched it several times. There's less air resistance, less gravity on the moon. If you touch something, it will continue to move longer than it was supposed to on Earth.
Okay.
But like I said, when it comes to the footage, I'm not sold that the footage is real. I'm not sold that that is the actual footage that came from the moon.
We should watch it.
Pull it up.
10,
9, 8, 7. Oh.
Just looking at this makes me want to throw up.
Yeah.
These are like the original influencers, because they definitely would have had to get off, set up fucking cameras.
Yeah, and then get back on. Yeah.
It looks so fucking weird, Marcus.
No, it looks weird. That's so cool.
That's so unnatural.
That final shot of the Earth.
That whole thing looks fake as hell.
It's old. Hell yeah, dude. Just a bunch of dudes, eh?
Dudes being guys. I don't believe that was real. That looks so bad. I know it's old, but I used to watch I Dream of Jeannie. He was an astronaut, by the way.
Not only with it being old, but also the digital upscaling that keeps being done with interpolation and whatnot. If you don't know what interpolation is, it's AI before AI existed. It's why if you ever look at old, or even modern day edits of TV shows where you're getting thirst traps of Anakin or whatever, and he kind of looks weird. It's almost like there's a motion blur when he's moving and stuff like that. It's because that's an AI interpolation. It's an upscale to 4K. That's why it looks weird. By the way, that happens a lot with animation when they do a thirst trap, edit of Naruto or whatever. It's why don't these panels look the same as they did when I watched it as a kid on TV? What's going on? That's why. So they're using probably some form of interpolation so that the footage stays up to date and quote unquote and makes it look good. I think that's why it keeps looking worse and worse every single year.
So some of the shadows are longer, and some aren't parallel. So that must be studio lighting.
Ooh.
That's a theory. So they claim actually that wide-angle lenses, uneven terrain, and sunlight bouncing off of the surface made it different than usual, what we would normally see.
Yeah.
And photographers apparently love explaining that one. It's perfectly consistent with being on the moon.
Bunch of nerds.
And then there's this slam dunk evidence. So the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, which is a NASA robotic spacecraft that is currently orbiting our moon right now, took photos of the Apollo landing sites. You can see the descent stages and tracks, retroflectors left behind by Apollo and maybe that fucking camera. They still bounce off of the moon and lasers today. And those 382 kilograms of moon rocks studied worldwide have been confirmed lunar. Not to mention, if this was all fake, wouldn't the Soviets have said so? With the evidence this solid, why do so many people, including myself, still believe that it is fake?
Why is that, Danielle?
Because it was propaganda.
I mean, yeah.
It was government propaganda. I think firmly that's why. And so I think that is why there's people like myself, where I'm not even, you're the conspiracy corner.
I know.
You're the guy, but this is one thing that I don't feel right about. I watch those clips. I go to NASA. I've seen the moon rocks. They have them on display there.
You used to be able to touch them. I don't think you can touch them anymore. I think after COVID, they stopped that.
Probably. We got to go on a field trip and vlog it.
Indeed.
But, because it's literally right up the road from us now. But I think with CIA, with Watergate, with everything that has come out about our government, with Marilyn Monroe, JFK, that's one we could talk about.
Mm-hmm.
I had a week episode about that on my other podcast, and I can say that now.
All's fair in love and war. Like I said, I think that the footage was probably fake. And I'm fine with that because it was a propaganda war. And in my humble opinion, the good guys won that one. Just because, I didn't really want to be hanging out in bread lines. But that's just me. When it comes to everything that was done for the space race, for the Cold War, for everything like that, I totally get everything being propaganda. I totally understand that. I totally understand that footage being fake. However, like they said, we do have physical evidence that we can physically look at on the moon and stuff that was brought back from the moon that we're like, yeah, this is definitely all from the moon. Now, was it from that one mission or was it from several that we don't know about? Don't know. Who's to say? And that's totally fine. I think that if tomorrow everything comes out and it's like, yeah, that footage was fake, but we've been there several times, I would 100% believe that. Or if I'm given, the third eye opens on my forehead and I see that the footage was actually real the whole time and we've been there several times and this, that, and the other thing, and there's an underground base and it's all made of cheese, who cares? Everything was correct. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fine too. I'm very much so like, we've been there. Yeah, maybe the footage isn't real. That's my thing. I know, kind of boring for a conspiracy corner from Marcus. I totally understand, but that's how I feel about the moon landing footage.
I don't know. I want to know. Of course, we probably missed conspiracy theories because there's a lot going on with the moon landing. So drop your own theories in the comments. If we missed one, explain it. If you tell us if you believe that it happened or if you believe it didn't happen, give us your reasoning why. I love reading stuff like that.
And tell us what you think Buzz Aldrin's favorite cigarette was down in the comments.
Personally, I ain't buying it. And I do think it was very interesting, the slip that they recently had.
Yes, that's very cool. That's a very interesting thing. But then
just...
that opens up another conspiracy. What if it was all robots that we've been sending up there and we've had high technology for a very long time from a other dimension, perhaps? Mm-hmm. Here's the tinfoil hats. Anyways, that was very fun. It was very lighthearted and got my almonds activated.
Your almonds?
So we'll see you guys, I think, in the next one.
We'll see you in the next one. Assuming you're still watching us.
Hopefully.
Love you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.